welcome to Dear Katie, the podcast that amplifies courageous voices and real stories of resilience, healing, and hope after trauma. Inspired by the many letters Katie has received over the last 20 years, each week she interviews survivors, healers, and experts to honor their stories and explore the many paths to healing and hope. Before we begin, please know, many episodes of Dear Katie cover sensitive topics related to sexual violence, trauma, and recovery. Listen with care and take the space you need to take care of yourself. Your well-being is what matters most. Now, let's join Katie and today's guest for a conversation that matters.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dear Katie podcast. As you all know, I'm Katie Kessner, your host, and I'm just delighted every single time to welcome a new guest, to welcome our listeners back. I continue to implore you just to journal along, take notes. I just find myself continuing my own healing process because there's so much to learn from each and every person who comes on the show. And I feel like it's a beautiful patchwork quilt of ideas and experiences. So remember, always push pause, take a break, get a cup of coffee, fresh air, somersaults, chocolate, whatever works for you. Self-care is the most important part, and we will be right here when you get back. So I'm going to share with you about our guest, Amy, and then let her take the stand. So our guest is Amy McKiernan. She is the author of a powerful book, and the name is More Than a Survivor, 8 Keys to Overcoming Sexual Assault and Finding a Path to Living a Fulfilled Life. In her book, Amy draws on her personal experience to outline the 8 keys she discovered for not just surviving, but thoroughly flourishing after the trauma. What makes the book unique is its hands-on approach. It features a reflective journal, so there we go, with prompts to actively guide the reader through their own healing journey as they read. It also includes perspectives from our own support system, and Amy provides a rare and valuable resource for survivors, family members, friends, all so we can connect and grow and learn. So welcome, Amy, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
Absolutely. So where are you from and how did you grow up? Tell us a little bit of the backstory.
Sure. So I'm from Hamden, Connecticut. And, I grew up in a very well-rounded and loving household. And so, when I look at my story, it's almost like you had such a great childhood. How did you end up going through all these really tumultuous things. But I did. I had a very loving family, very supportive family, the kind of family that gathers for Sunday dinners every Sunday and has spaghetti and meatballs together. And so, very close knit. And it wasn't, I had a couple challenging experiences leading up to high school, but high school was when my journey really took a turn. And that's when I, experienced my first rape. And
just for a second, Amy, do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a big family?
It's a big family. I have a brother and a sister. We grew up with my mom and dad right next door to my grandmother's house, where said spaghetti and meatballs took place.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
and then the other curious things, were you a sport person, a music person, an all of the above person, activities, clubs? What were you doing with your time?
Yeah, so I was very into theatrics and art and singing and dancing. I was just one of those kids who was always dressing up, always putting on a show, always getting artistic and creative. Not too much into sports. I did play basketball, but I can't say that was really a skill of mine. That's
okay. I totally get you. I could barely figure out the whole. When you're only 5'4", it's not usually the strongest thing for you to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know how tall you are, so I too tried. I think I was in sixth grade, Amy, when everyone was still all the same height. Mm-hmm. But then rapidly there were a couple girls in my grade that were 4 or 5 inches taller than us, and we all gave up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did you? So are you East Coast, West Coast? Whereabouts in the country are you?
East Coast. Yes.
Okay.
So in Connecticut.
And then were you public school, private school? What were you doing?
Public school, public school kid.
And I guess one last thing I was thinking is, so this is how long ago were you in high school? No one can guess anyone's age these days. Like, I think we're all now ageless.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Is this 10 years ago? Like, I don't have a reference.
Over 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in high school 20 years ago. See,
Yes.
Look at this. No one would know. Okay. So 20 years ago, you're in high school. And is it a big school? And what's going on? Is it a cliquey school? Is it all sports school? Is it, how would you describe your high school?
Yeah. So, like 500 kids. Definitely, I think most high school experiences are like the cliquey kind. So my experience was when I was a freshman. So it was my first year in high school. So I was still, really trying to like find my footing and like figure out who I was going to be in this next chapter in life. It wasn't like, there were sports and things like that, but it was big enough to where it wasn't like too heavy on like a certain, area.
And so you're in ninth grade, and is your perpetrator also a student there?
Yes. So he was a junior in high school. So he was 17.
Okay.
And I had just turned 15.
Okay. And was this, like, can you share with us a little bit more about what happened? Like, how did you know him? Did you not know him?
Yeah. So, I knew him. We hung out with the same group of friends. And we were, hanging out a lot. And actually, my sister remembers very distinctly that she did not like me hanging out with this particular person. She was very, I would tell her just kind of about how things would go when we were together. And she's like, I don't think you should be around him. He seems very like forceful. He seems I'm getting a really bad vibe. I didn't listen, of course, but, and so, same group of friends, we did hang out often. And, the particular evening that this occurred, it was actually 4 days after I turned 15. And, we were hanging out at a friend's house. The mother wasn't home. So, it was,
no parents were around.
No parents out of town weekend type.
Yeah. Was it I remember high school, there was the most overwhelming party, I think it was in middle school. And there were so many old kids. And I was like, they're probably only 2 years older, but they seemed like a whole generation difference. And it was packed. Like every room had tons of people. What kind of feel was this particular party?
It was smaller. So it was more, a small, probably maybe like 10 people total. It was just the mom wasn't home, a few of us getting together. So it wasn't like a big party with a lot of people there.
Okay. So you're there and it's a weekend, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
was there like an official invite? I mean, this is actually before text messages, right? So you got invited somehow, right? Was it word of mouth at the school?
Well, it was our group of friends. So like our group of friends was just getting together like, hey, my mom's not home. Let's all go hang out. And my best friend at the time was dating the guy's house that we were at. So, we all just kind of went over there, opportunity to, party and hang out, just our small group.
Mm-hmm. So you remember it really well, and you're at this event, and is it 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock? Give me the kind of what happened, because this is the moment that changed your life. So, or the first major moment, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us more what happened.
Yeah. So, the night went on, we were probably headed over there probably around 7 or 8. I can't remember exactly, but there was drinking happening, a lot of vodka. I was not an experienced drinker. I had just turned 15. But this was the crowd. This is what we were doing. So, I'd experimented a little bit before in life, but not to the extent that was that we were drinking that night. And so I feel like it was just a lot in a short amount of time. Not really knowing how to handle alcohol or how to responsibly drink alcohol. And it was just vodka kept being added to my drink. He was very kind to make sure that I had enough to drink all night. I can tell you that.
Did you ever talk to him much before, this guy, or not much?
I mean, we had hung out quite a few times before. We were in the same circle. So it was
not boyfriend, girlfriend.
No, not at all.
Okay.
There was never an interest there. There was
on your part?
No.
On his part?
Not that I had known of. It wasn't, it wasn't like, oh, he likes you or she, you know what I mean? It was just like the same circle of friends. And I had actually like kind of dated one of his other friends before that. So it wasn't ever like on my radar of somebody who would be interested in me or that I would be interested in. It was never like going that direction with us at all.
Gotcha. Okay. And you're just milling around. It sounds like the vodka was overwhelming. But your best friend is there and her boyfriend's there. It's his house. So what ends up happening?
So what ends up happening is her and her boyfriend go in the other room together. And, and this is the part of the night that gets, a little tricky for me because I have some very clear memories of pieces and some very clear non-memories. Like I clearly was in and out the rest of the evening. And, the next thing I remember is being held up on top of him, and it's switching from that to being kind of like him forcing me to give him oral sex or trying to get me to give him oral sex. And I was like really in and out of consciousness. Like I was so confused as to what was going on. But he had me like by my throat and was trying to, make me, oral sex. Yeah. And I remember kind of biting down because I was like, what is happening? Like this was like, it was scary. And then the next thing I remember is again, being held up, like I remember distinctly my body being so limp, like a rag doll is like the best way, just like complete limpness. And so being held up on top of him and him trying to,
make you
I was completely naked. I don't know where my clothes went.
Gosh, Amy.
And I was just like being held up on top of this guy and then like being in and out. I remember hitting my head at one point because I had no, control. So he may have let go or something and I like completely fell. But just being in and out of like these different positions and these different like things happening. And, until somebody walked in. And it was my boyfriend, not my boyfriend, my friend and her boyfriend had actually walked in on this happening. And that's when I remember falling completely off the bed into the ground. Again, no clothes on. And I don't know what happened after that with him. All I remember is being very, violently ill. And my friend's boyfriend pretty much sitting next to me on the floor the rest of the, like all night long while I vomited. And I remember distinctly like crying and like rolling around at one point, like being like hysterical. And I was dressed in his like clothes the next day. And that's how the evening went is it went from like being socially engaged to like waking up and being in this very scary and unknown situation.
Yeah. Just, thanks for sharing that, Amy. It's never easy to, revisit trauma. I'm curious only about being so young and being in an environment you thought was safe. I asked you if this guy liked you, and you're like, I didn't know that. I guess my first question about it was, when you're feeling so awfully sick, what part do you remember? Any part of, like, did you push it back, or was there just this dread of, oh my gosh, what just happened sexually to me? Or were you more focused on being sick and worried about parent? Like, do you remember what portion of your situation, like your trauma, was engulfed by just the sexual violation part? Or did you, I'm thinking maybe you pushed that back somewhere. I don't know. I'm curious about it.
I mean, honestly, it wasn't till the next morning where I was like, I think I lost my virginity last night. And like my friend was like laughing about it because she had walked in. Like, I don't think either of us really could even like accept what happened.
So when she walked in, did you see him having actual sex with you?
They walked in, and then he was gone the next day. I don't know. I didn't see him the next day. And it's like, when I'm looking back at it now, I'm like, I didn't even like, I never even asked my friend's boyfriend directly. Like,
what did you see?
Yeah, I didn't even talk.
I hear you. I'm like thinking about it. It's like we're so mortified in those moments. It's like, oh my God. And our brain, I feel like our brains just like, roll over it in our heads, but it's too terrifying to like ascertain proof.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to even say the words, right?
Exactly.
Out loud.
Too embarrassing. Like, clearly it was my fault, like in that moment, right? I was like, I mean, I drank a lot, and like, that's what happens, right? It's like that stigma of like, well, I did drink a lot.
Right.
And so that's what happens. And like, and I never asked the questions. I just like pushed it down. And, I actually distinctly remember going home the next day. So first we got dropped off to my friend.
Who was dropping you? Who was driving?
So it was my friend's boyfriend drove us home the next morning.
Okay.
And so they took us back to my friend's house because that's where I was supposed to be. That's where I told my parents I was going to be that night.
Oh, right.
And so they drove us back there. And I kind of was like, I remember like kind of talking about it with her, but not.
Amy, I'm like thinking about so many things. Like, I remember now you said this was 20 years ago, and I'm just thinking, like, do we have any modern day help from technology? Because your parents would have known you weren't there. They would have GPS located you. Like, oh gosh darn, we want this independence and this freedom. It's certainly not your fault, but I'm thinking, like, now modern day versions of your experience, how could they have been any different, right?
Exactly.
But then this is a bigger question. This guy who was there that you had no interest in, I guess when you go back in your head about it, do you think he'd had done this before? Do you think he was sexually experienced? Do you think he saw you as an easy target? Do like, how many ways have you thought about his actions and choices? Just out of curiosity. And he's somebody's friend. Like, he's, and you're only in 9th grade. They're not going anywhere. You're not going. You didn't leave your school, did you?
No.
So this environment like coexists with all these friends. Like, they're not leaving. So can you? I guess that was 2 questions. One is about the guy, and the second one is about your friends. Can we talk about both of those things?
Sure.
And then maybe we could talk about your parents.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to hear like how you were thinking about, and maybe what you were thinking then versus now.
Yeah. So for him, looking back, I didn't like realize this then, but looking back, I can remember now, like in the moment it didn't occur to me, but like looking back, I could see that he was paying very close attention to how much I was drinking. Like he was there refilling the drink. Like
he was the one filling the drinks.
Yes, he was.
Oh, wow.
Watching me that
That's
night.
so deliberate. Amy.
Yes.
That's clear.
Yeah, I think he had a plan, you know,
Oh,
and
wow.
I think that he was like, I'm going to get her drunk, you know, and I'm going to have sex with her. Like, that's basically where I think what his plan was the entire time. I did not feel that in the moment. I think I kind of remember like feeling his eyes on me, but again, I had just turned 15. Like this was like kind of the first time I had been really drinking with a group of people. Like I hadn't really done this before. So I didn't like, it wasn't like red flags were going off in my head. Like you need to be careful right now.
Yeah.
And you know, that Monday when we got back to school, he told everyone that we had sex. So he was bragging about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I remember walking through the hallway, still trying to, and at this point I didn't tell anybody on my end, except for my sister. I did tell my sister, and but it was very like limited. Like it was like, I think I lost my virginity, and I explained to her. She's like, he raped you," and I was like, no, that's not what happened. Like this is like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. You know, it was very like, and I said, "Promise me you will not say anything." Like. She didn't know what to do, so she didn't tell anybody right away. And so I went to school that Monday, like really just a shell. Like I felt just empty and confused and like, okay, my plan was to just be like, we're going to just pretend that didn't happen. And I walk through the hallway and I see him and he's with a group of guys and I like don't make eye contact. And I can hear them laughing and talking, saying like, "Oh, they never talk to you after. That's okay. They never talk to you after." You know, like the guy's basically saying like, the girls they don't talk to you after you have sex with them.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, wait a minute, you know, and like really like, you know, maybe there weren't physical high fives, but it was like, yeah, man, there's your victory or whatever. Like, I just was like, wait a minute. It was that like just sex to him? Like,
right. So this is like in the like 2005-ish?
Or earlier than that. So over 20 years ago, I was a freshman. I graduated.
2003.
Yeah. So like 20. Yeah. 2000. Yeah.
One. Okay. I'm just trying to give our listeners some context because they're all, and you know, our listeners are all ages.
Yeah.
But it's really helpful, Amy. I can so picture what you're talking about. But it's also, I'm also thinking about this bro culture of like high-fiving and sex being a notch in a belt. And I'm hopeful like that has outgrown itself. I don't know. Maybe COVID killed the bro culture. No, or maybe it pushed it online. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious, like, about today's, you know, teenagers,
right?
And what they're thinking, and if they would behave the same. And maybe there's still pockets of it. I don't know. But it doesn't help with what happened. But I guess, how did you navigate that feeling of? I love when you said not love, but I think it's very clear. Shell. I used to say my word was, Amy, just for sake of survivorship. I always say I felt like a ghost. Like you could put your hand right through me. Like I'd been turned into a nothing. And I think the metaphor, the shell, because to me, rape is about being turned into an object or less than human, right? So I think it's so clear and powerful to say shell, ghost. You know, we have been turned into that, and now how do we get it back? How do we get our humanhood back? But you're walking around and you somehow do navigate. Like how would you describe that first year?
That was such a challenging year because what ended up happening is word got out. So my parents found out. I had no intention of telling them. But by the time I got home from school, they knew. And what happened was it spread like wildfire. And I never thought about it in the moment until afterward that like there were two stories going around. One was that he had sex with me and one was that he raped me. And that story was also going around and I didn't even know it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, and it still didn't occur to me during that period of life. I didn't even think about it until adulthood where I was like, wait a minute, this all happened without me saying a word to anybody.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. And I remember later that day, this girl, I got news that this girl wanted to talk to me. And it was somebody who was in our group of friends, but we weren't really friends. Like she didn't really like me very much. And I was really scared. And I was like, she's going to beat me up because I did. I was like, she's going to beat me up because I did this thing. Like, I was like, and so I went to talk to her and she looked at me with such like and these are all juniors and I'm a freshman. And she's like, what did he do to you? What happened? And I was like, wait, I didn't even, how does she know that this was even a thing? Like I didn't, and she's like, I want to know what happened. And I didn't use the word, I don't think I used the word rape, but I explained it to her. And she was like, I want to stay away from him. And she hugged me. And I was like, oh
my gosh.
Yeah. And so this all like was just coming out without me saying anything to anybody. And so clearly somebody else who was there had said
at the party.
Yeah. And I never asked about it. I can assume it was my friend's boyfriend who, because I'm pretty sure they like stopped talking afterward too. Like I'm pretty sure he was the one who probably like said something. I don't know. But all I know is that she called my brother. So she knew my brother who was away at
How old is your brother? Oh, he's older.
He's older. So he's 4 years older than me. He was actually on his way home from college with a really bad case of mono, which is actually really good for everyone involved because he was like so sick that he couldn't move very well. So he was on his way home and he gets this phone call from her telling him what happened. And so by the time I got off the bus that day, my parents knew my brother was home and like it was out, this like secret that I was like, okay, this thing happened and I don't know how to deal with it. And I'm just going to push that down. It was out. Everybody knew. And so I got off the bus. My dad was waiting at the end of the driveway. And he just like put his arm around me and he's like, we're going to go talk. And I knew that he knew, like, I just knew it in my like soul,
Yeah.
And we sat down at the kitchen table, as a family. And this was now 2 days after, because it was Saturday and now it's Monday. And we talked, I didn't say too much. My sister was beside herself that she didn't say something sooner. And they said, we're going to report this and we're going to take all the steps. And so
your dad said that.
Yeah. He was, and I was and I just remember, and so they were so supportive. And I remember clearly feeling so ashamed and so like, I'm making everybody's life so hard. Like, look at how upset my sister is. Look at my dad's face. Look at my poor mother. Like, this is all, I was still like, this is my fault. I had to go and drink and be irresponsible and like put myself in this position. And here we are, and, from there, we went and reported it. I remember the detective was so harsh with me. He met us at the hospital because they told us to go to the hospital to get the rape kit done. And I was trying to explain to him everything I could remember. And I remember him saying to me, he's like, well, either you remember or you don't, because there were moments that I didn't remember. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, it just felt so hard to like I felt like he didn't believe me, and he thought I was lying, and I was doubting myself. And then I had to go through the rape kit. And, and now all those secrets that I was keeping were evidence, and there were bruises everywhere, and the shapes of fingers in between my thigh. Like you could see the handprint in a bruise on my inner thigh, and finger-like bruises on my breasts that's how I was being held up, bruises on my head. Like it was all there. I did shower a couple times, so there wasn't that kind of evidence. But it was now a case, and it was all now evidence. And, after that, the detectives actually came to the high school and interviewed people there. And so it was so wildly known in the school. Everybody knew about it. People took sides. And I think that was what made the journey even harder, was that even the adults took sides. And
like the teachers?
Like the teachers.
Was he an athlete? Who was he? A nobody? An artist?
He wasn't an athlete. He was just, he said I was lying. He said I was lying.
He was nothing special. He was just your average Joe.
Yeah, and he claimed that we had sex and I was lying about it.
Right. I was just curious though, Amy, the stereotype is, it's the quarterback, right? Or it's the star, this, or he's got lots of money. But it's interesting to me that people are taking sides over a boy, just a boy. And that would you say it felt like half and half? And for adults to take sides sounds crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was half and half. I think there were only two adults who made it that I could feel it. One was a teacher that she didn't say anything to me, but I would see them in the hallways, and she would hug him. Like she was so caring toward him and so icy toward me that I was like, oh, you do not like me. And then one was a security guard. And I remember he said something to me. We were in the hallway, and now there was a restraining order and thing, like he was supposed to stay. He got suspended originally from school for 10 days. And then they didn't.
Do you remember what they said to him? Like, you're being suspended because you were drinking underage too. So what was the suspension because of?
I actually don't know. All I know is I can tell you this, the communication with the school to me wasn't great. They didn't, I don't feel, now I'm in education now, and I'm just like, this was not handled well. like if I were me at that school, I would have taken very good care of this girl.
Right.
But
I was just curious because think about the timeline too, Amy, is in 2001, I had been already doing this work for like a decade and speaking at tons of schools, especially in the Northeast, all throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts, like tons and tons and tons. Like I was writing handbooks and I was 23 years old, right? And so I feel like, especially in the location where you were, there was better knowledge, and maybe that's at least why they suspended him. But it sounds like the process was still bad. But by then I had written entire protocols and checklists and resource lists, and like, you must do all this for medical attention, you must do this for counseling and emotional support, you must do this for like criminal reporting, civil options, like you must tell the student all the things. And this was, before we had all the nice Title IX like regulations too. But nonetheless, like I guess I know I want to get to your book and summarize. There seems like so much we could talk about, but I'm sure much of it's in the book. Before we get to what you've done now and writing, I guess the only other question is, you did get through and graduate from high school despite all this fracturing and lack of support, and then weird coming out of the woodwork, like the girl who said, like, the hugger, maybe she was also a survivor, right? Like maybe he did it is that your suspicion? Or
I honestly don't know.
Right.
But I do suspect that, I don't know if it, maybe not to her, but maybe
A friend.
she's heard or seen other things that he has.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rare rapist that only does it once.
Right.
I hate to say it.
And what's interesting too is that, so the detective basically said that he sealed his own fate because he was 17 and I was only 15. So it was statutory, regardless of if it was, consensual. And so,
Oh, right.
yeah.
Duh.
So there was that. And he admitted to, he actually didn't admit to sex, but he did say that he admitted to enough. He said that I gave him a blowjob and that, so he didn't admit to having vaginal sex with me, though. But, and then he skipped town. So he disappeared. Never to be seen or heard from again. And so,
Wow. Like even to this day.
Yeah. So, he ended up, it was middle of high school. He disappeared. They said that, rumor had it, he left the country to go stay with family, somewhere else. And that was the last I, have seen or heard from him.
That is fascinating, Amy.
Yeah.
Okay. When you graduated, what helped you along the way during those first 3 or 4 years? Like, what were things that were helpful?
I mean, it was definitely a rough journey. I went downhill pretty hard. It wasn't, the first few years, probably 2 years were really, really challenging with just diving into just drugs and alcohol and just numbing myself as much as I could. I didn't realize at the time that it was because of anything. I just, was having a good time. I did get into therapy. My family was very supportive and they really pushed for me to find a therapist that was right for me. And it took a little time to do that. We had to meet different people. We had to change therapists, things like that. And so sticking with therapy, I think, was definitely helpful. And it took, a couple years for me to really start to heal on a deeper level, though. It was very challenging at first. So, sticking with therapy, leaning on my support system. I talk about that in my book, is the importance of a support system. And, I was fortunate to have my family be mine. And I understand that, a lot of people don't have that. However, I do think that there is a kind of support system out there, whether it's through your therapist or a support group or friends or colleagues or whatever that is. I do feel like that's a vital piece, because having that, system to help hold you up when you're feeling just not strong enough to do it yourself, and to not give up on you, it's vital to someone who experiences such deep hurt, and feels completely broken and is trying to put themselves back together. So that support system and the professional help staying with me during those years of me not really wanting to help myself, it planted the seed for me, and then when I was ready, when I decided to choose, okay, if I make even the smallest choice toward my health, and that felt pretty good, so I'm going to make another one tomorrow. It's like that seed of you're worthy was there. It was buried pretty deep. I needed to access it, but it was there because I had those people, that support system, and that professional help to really make sure it was planted there and stayed there through until I was ready for it to grow. And that's, a big part of it is being ready for it to.
What were, I want to hit just a few more really important points. If you had to give 2 examples of, your support network doing something extraordinary that really made a difference, what comes to mind? Like, if at least one, like a moment where, wow, thank goodness they're there.
Well, so one, and both, I guess both are smaller, right? Like if you're a support person, if you're supporting someone, it's not like you have to do these grand, life-altering things, even the smallest consistency is important. So like, for example, my dad changed his schedule around, and he made sure he was home every day when I got home from school. And I that might not seem like a huge deal. We didn't talk much, but we would sit and we would watch a soap opera together, General Hospital.
There you go.
And we would just, that's what we did. We didn't talk. And then over some time, he would like make some jokes and comments. And then over some time, I would make them back. And it was just like this gradual thing where he needed me to know that he was there. Oh. And I was so shut down that him just showing up and physically being there was all he could do. And it was enough, right? And another thing, which is actually interesting, I discovered after we booked this, is that he found this public speaker advocate named Katie.
Katie Kester. Oh my goodness.
Yes, and he brought me to see you speak.
That's so cool. That part blew my mind.
Yeah.
So listeners, just so you know, like when we get all these applications to come on the show, I'm like, this one, I was like, and you didn't write that in there right away. I just asked you a bunch of questions, and then you put all the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah.
I think it's like I was everywhere all at once. That's a movie, I think. Yeah. Everything all at once, everything everywhere all at once. I was that though for a while, and the whirlwind. I mean, I think what's good about this show, right, is I continue to do the work in all the spaces possible, and you're like proof of every little thing we do matters, right? So if you come to hear me speak, then you have a little more courage. You're not alone. Then you write this great book, and maybe you would have never done the book if you didn't know that you weren't alone and it didn't seem totally scary, or if your dad hadn't been so caring and watching General Hospital with you. It's every little thing really adds up, and it's the collective that matters. And I guess let's end on like a couple more strengths. Like what else when people pick up your book, what else can they look forward to learning? Because I know we said it's kind of a journal along.
Right.
So just give us an overview of what to expect if people want to follow up and go search out the book.
Yeah. So it's called More Than a Survivor, and it talks about my journey and all of my experiences. There are more, and it goes into great depth about them. And then it talks about the healing process and the keys that I've discovered in actually healing on such a deep level that I don't identify as a survivor. I identify as an overcomer, and my dad used to say this to me all the time. He used to say, "You're not a victim. You are not a survivor. You are an overcomer. And you are going to, this story, you're going to help other people one day. Just wait. You're going to get so strong from this. You're going to overcome this. And one day your voice is going to help others." And even seeing you, I was like, that's amazing. I want to do that one day, even though at that time I was like, I'm never going to be there. But, and so there's this reflective journal that you can download, and there's prompts throughout the book. So where, as you're reading through my journey and the keys that I've discovered, you get to pause and connect to yourself. You get to pause and reflect on, where are you in your journey? Where are you? How does this make you feel? How does this relate to you and what you're going through? Which I think is a really powerful thing, because it's about your journey too. You can read about mine, but it's about the purpose of it is to help you through yours.
I love it.
Yeah. And, and then also offering the perspectives of my dad and my sister. If you're an ally, if you're someone who's supporting someone going through this who has gone through this in the past, it's a powerful book for you too, because it sheds light on their journey through it. The pieces that I couldn't see at the time, the pieces that I was so blind to because I was so deep into my own. And it really intertwines them in a way that both allies and people with lived experience can gain something from it. And so that's...
I have every confidence that that will be the case too. And I'm sure people can find it where books are sold. So
Anywhere, Amazon, anywhere. I have a
yeah.
website that you could check out.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Amy
Yeah.
McKiernan.
I guess final word is any last, when things got really hard, you said the support system. Was there anything else that just really helped you turn corners when things were hard?
Yeah, and I think that, one of my keys is pave your new path with choice. And I think
Mm-hmm.
and in the moment, I don't think I realized this, but it's one of one of my favorite keys, because it's, if you're lost and you don't know where to start, or if you're on your journey and you were doing really well and now you're backtracked and you don't know what to do, you can always revisit it, right? And it's start with the smallest of choices, right? Choice is so powerful. And when you've experienced sexual assault, choice was taken from you. It was ripped from you.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to help anyone who reads my book get their power of their choices back. And when you can just make one small choice to a new path for yourself, one small choice for your well-being and your health and your self-care and your healing, that's one small choice in the right direction. And then those choices become bigger and bigger, and that path becomes clearer and easier. But it's all starts with just one, right? Like, you're listening to this podcast right now. That is a choice that you are making. What will you make tomorrow? So I think of the one small choice that feels sustainable for you.
I like that. It's very accessible, Amy. I appreciate starting out that way. And everything is one small choice. One small choice leads to, as you said, bigger and more powerful choices. And one choice that to backtrack is not a permanent backtrack either. So
Exactly.
Yay. Okay. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining the Dear Katie podcast. It's been just so heartening to hear where you came from, and in the story of your high school assault is also really important. I think it brings up all the themes of side taking and confusion and vulnerability and bystanders. What do they do? What do they not do? And who can stick by you? And thank goodness for the support network and that strong family that was ready to welcome you at the end of the driveway with open arms, right? That's where it all starts. And that's a beautiful image for me. As our listeners know, I did not have that. I had a phone hung up on me and no support. But things are getting better, and this is just one more great book out there to take a look through. So for our listeners, now you have a model for the journal with Amy's book. If you haven't been doing it a lot along the way, this might be a really accessible way to do the podcast with a journal guide. And continue to tune in, go back to episodes that you want to revisit. But self-care is the most important, and being together, we are thriving and surviving. Take care until the next time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Dear Katie. These conversations are never easy, but they're always necessary, and we're so grateful you chose to share this space with us. If something in today's episode stirred something within you, please give yourself what you need. Whether that's rest, support, or just a deep breath, you're not alone. To hear more stories, resources, and survivor-centered conversations, be sure to subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to hear from you, so please leave us a review and share your feedback. Your thoughts help us create episodes that resonate with listeners. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.